Hi there, this is Jeanette Comerford for Whimsy Stamps, and today I'm going to be sharing how I color images with Prismacolor pencils. I'll be using the elephant with flower image. It is from Whimsy's February 2016 release, and here you can see it on a card paired up with other new release products. But for today we'll just be focusing on coloring the image. I stamped the image on Neenah cardstock with Memento Tuxedo Black ink. I've pulled out some pencils I'll be using. This is how I store my Gamsol and the blending stumps that I use. I wanted to share this file with you. I like to file my blending stumps to a sharp point with it, or if I want to change colors, I just file away the stump until the color is removed. And this is just the pencil sharpener that I like to use with my Prismacolors. We'll start off by using a cool gray. This is 20%, I believe. I've listed all the numbers of the crayons that I've used at the bottom of this video on YouTube, and they'll also be listed on my blog. So I'm starting by adding quite a thick line of this color around the edges of the image. Everywhere that I want a shadow to be, I'll be adding this color. And so basically I'm just following the lines of the image, and there's fold lines already drawn in, so I follow those, and you can see that I'm adding enough that you get a good coverage on the cardstock. And I'll just put it everywhere that I want the color. Some areas I put a little bit more if I want more color. And then I'll take my blending stump and I will dip it into the Gamsol, and then I'll put it right on top of the coloring pencil, and it basically dissolves the Prismacolor pencil. So it dissolves it, and then you're able to just drag it up into the areas where you didn't have the pencil, and you get this really nice sort of coloration. It's beautifully blended. If ever you feel you need a little bit more color, you can just go ahead and add some more of the pencil and then keep on blending with the Gamsol. I like to use circular motions and just start where the pencil is and then gradually drag the color into the areas where there was no pencil. So you can see how that's looking. And this is just sort of a base. It's a base coat of the color. And then I'll be adding deeper shades of gray when I'm done. So this is the second pencil I'm using. It is a darker gray, and I am going over the exact same areas where I laid down the first pencil. The only difference is I'm adding a thinner line. So I'm really just tracing those areas because I don't want as much pencil there. When I blend, I want to be able to still have some of that light gray showing. So I'm just getting into all the little folds there. And this is why I like to sharpen my pencils to a nice fine point. This way I can get right into those little tight areas. And already you can see that the image is starting to have a little bit more definition. So I'm going back in with the exact same blending stump, and I am just blending all of that darker gray, and I'm trying not to cover over all of the lighter gray, if that makes any sense. I'm just sort of bringing it almost to the edge of the lighter gray, but I'm leaving a little bit of that lighter gray. And here you just want to make sure everything is blended and that you don't have any sort of harsh lines anywhere. I want to talk a little bit more about the Gamsol. Gamsol is the brand name of an odorless mineral spirit. You can pick these up in art supply stores. They may go under different sort of names, but I'm sure if you just ask, they'll be able to give you the correct thing. So you ask for odorless mineral spirits. There are fumes that you can't smell them because they're odorless. So you want to make sure that you work in a well ventilated area. And I've never had any problems. And that's why I like to keep it in that little jar. You can buy various containers where you store the Gamsol or the OMS and you're able to keep it closed when you're not using it. So just bear that in mind. Be a little careful when you're using it. But as I say, I've never had any problem. So I've laid down the darker gray color that I'm using, and the only difference now is that I've switched to a smaller blending stump. So this one you can see has a finer point, and this way I'm able to be more careful or more precise when I'm blending that darker gray out. I can just keep it limited to the area very close to the lines, and that way you don't sort of overpower your lighter colors. So you can see I'm just working away at it, but I'm not dragging it all the way over onto the rest of the image. I'm keeping it very close to where I laid it down. And again, if I feel like I need a little bit more shadow, I can just grab my pencil and add it. I felt like that area there needed to be in a deeper shadow because it was more towards the back of the trunk. And here too I was feeling like there wasn't enough definition, so I went ahead and added a little bit more of that pencil crayon, and then I was a little bit more happy with the shadow that I had. Here too, it needed just a little bit more. So now what I'm doing is I'm taking this pale blue pencil and I'm coloring over top the entire elephant. So over top the gray and into the areas where there was no pencil blended. And this pencil actually is blending again. So you can blend Prismacolor pencils with each other. It's not exactly the same result as when you use Gamsol. But right now I'm just coloring over on top, and it gives a really beautiful sort of blended look and adds that sort of hint of blue. And I'm not going over it with my Gamsol. Here you saw I just added a little bit of black to the eyes just to make them pop a little bit more. And now I'm just adding some shades of peach to the ears. I added 2 colors of peach to the ear. I blended it out. And then I'm going to go back in with a lighter shade of peach. And then I'll blend everything together. And then I'll just move over onto the other side and do the other ear the exact same way. Now to do the cheeks, what I did was I took a red pencil and I colored it over here on the side. I dissolved it with some Gamsol onto my blending stump, and then I just brought the stump over to the cheeks. And that way I can control how much of the red I put on the cheeks, and I just wanted like the barest hint of a blush, so that way it was much easier to control. Moving over to the flower now, I added a couple of shades of yellow to the center, which I'm not even going to blend. And now I'm adding this sort of minty blue to the petals. And I'm just adding that to the areas where I think there'd be more shadow or a little more color. So I'm going to color all the petals. And if you get a little bit of crayon dust while you're doing this, just shake it off. And now I'm using a different blending stump, because if I'd used the same one as I'd used for the elephant, I would have had some of that gray on it. So when you're changing colors, you need to change out your blending stump, or you need to take that file that I showed you and just file away the color so that you don't transfer any of it onto the next part of the image that you're coloring. So again, I am dissolving that blue color right where I laid it down, and then I'm just gradually sort of blending it towards the center, but leaving part of the flower uncolored. I'm leaving it white for now. And I'll just work my way right around. If ever you feel like you have too much color on your blending stump, you can just sort of color it off onto the side of your paper. So this is a lot of fun. When I first started making cards, this is how I used to color my images before I started using Copics. So it's kind of fun to come back to this medium. So again, I'm taking that very light blue pencil and I'm just coloring over the entire petal. So I'm blending out that aqua color a little bit more and adding just a hint of color to the white parts. So the next thing I'm going to do now is add the green for the stem of the leaf. So this is a lighter color. Just going to blend that out with a smaller blending stump because I want to control where I'm adding that color. And then I'll put a little bit of a darker green there to add some shadow. I'll blend that out. So I went ahead and I cut it out, but then when I was looking at it, I felt that there was still not enough definition or contrast. So I took a black Prismacolor pencil and I just added it to a few areas on the elephant and then just blended it out. And you can see that that adds enough contrast. It makes the image pop a little bit better than it was before. So you can always go back when you're coloring with Prismacolors and add more. So that is how I colored the image for my card. I have added the supply links for the products I used to create the rest of my card in the video. You can see that in a minute, and they'll be found below this video on YouTube or on my blog dated February 1st, 2016. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope this encourages you or inspires you to use your Prismacolors. Thanks for watching.